Hello everyone, it's Jin'taan here, and welcome to my series of CSM interviews. By the time you listen to this, all of the interviews will have been conducted, as I wanted to make sure that all the questions were asked of all the participants before the questions were made public. Hopefully this will serve to make sure that the interview platform is a relatively balanced one, as no candidate has been able to sit down and really research and prepare an answer in advance. Everything that the people answer here is going to be off the cuff. In order to give a bit of background as to who I am and what relation I have with the CSM, I've served on the previous 3 terms and am not planning to run for CSM 14. However, I wanted to lend my expertise, at least to some degree, to the election process, and I thought that the best way to do this was to highlight some specific candidates who I thought were interesting and had captured some level of public support. Anyway, with all that said, let's swiftly switch focus over to the subject of our interview. Why don't you introduce yourself, and tell us a little bit about why you've decided to run for the CSM.
Okay, my name is Mike Azariah. I have served on CSM 8, 9, and 10. I've run in a lot more elections than that, lost most of them. I currently fly for an NPC corp, the Scope, and I run Operation Magic School Bus and do as much as I can to help new players coming into the game. So I spend a lot of time in high sec, though I do like every week or two to go on a roam into low with people like Redemption Roads or other organizations, and run the occasional abyssal space. I need to get back into incursions to get some misc for myself. And I've fought in wars. I fought in the first big one between NC Dot and the Goons. I have lived 6 months in a wormhole, C4. I have never done faction war. I will tell you that flat out. But I'm willing to listen to people who do faction war. It's just never really grabbed me. I've been on a gank crew, mainly to kill the gank crew. It worked. And generally, I am probably the most atypical Care Bear you could care to come across.
So in recent years on the CSM, it's become a tradition for the CSM to present a list of points that all CSM members agree on to CSM during one of the first meetings of the summit, which is with the upper leadership of EVE Online's development team. What is a point that you would advocate for being on that list?
Proper balancing.
That's a good question. One of the things I really want to push for, because I work with New Bros so much, is I feel that CCP rides on the news that it gets out there in the gaming news, but it's always a betrayal or a war. And there's a common comment in Reddit of, this is my favorite game to read about, but I never want to play it. I'd like to see the marketing shift so we can draw more people in and show them that not all of the game is Game of Thrones.
So a marketing thing, would that be something that you think?
Yeah, something to bring players in and to decrease the churn. Do you guys use that term, or is that an old term?
No, that's a churn. That's a term.
Okay, I'd like to see the churn decreased so that we don't have that huge fall off of 3 hours in and the people quit. So mainly, I want more activity done towards building and maintaining the population of EVE, because if people stop playing, if they all leave the game, it doesn't matter how well balanced it is, it's a dead game.
Do you think that marketing is the most important thing to that?
No, that's why I said I want to look at, it's not just marketing, but it's an aspect of, I want to look at this is a broad topic. Would you be asking for a specific as opposed to a broad topic?
Yeah, like, if you're just saying about player churn, what do you mean? Is that like in the short term, like player retention, sure, like new player retention, but what do you think is an area that is negatively impacting that CCP could address? What's an actual problem?
I joked about this on my thread, saying if I knew the absolute answer to that, I'd apply for a job with CCP, not just volunteer to be working with them. But to a certain extent, I think the layout in the start is confusing for a lot of players, and it doesn't hook them adequately. There's not enough of a hook set to keep people in the game. They get frustrated, confused, and quit. So Yeah, I'd like to see if you've got a lot of people starting and then quitting, we need to look at why they're quitting and fix that. Try if we could get, and I'm not going to throw numbers out because I don't know whether the numbers are official or not, whether they've said what their churn rate is. But if we could improve it by 20%, that would be fantastic and would be a huge boon to the game as a whole.
During CSM 12, I was asked to present 3 areas of the game that I thought CCP could gain a lot from working on. If you were put into this situation, what are the 3 areas of the game that you would suggest?
The first thing that comes to mind for me would be the AT tournament tools and support for the tournament. Esports is a big thing in the gaming world, and that is our version of esports. If we want to be competing on an external level and something that people outside the game can learn and look at, that would be very important. I was very disappointed to see AT tournament lost, or not lost, but laid aside this year, and I'm hoping that is not a warning of what is to become the new pattern.
Okay, so what are your 2 other things that you think need to be addressed?
Okay, second would be, I always like follow through and finish. I would like to see war decks completed because they're still being tweaked. But I'd like to see the stats on how they're going and whether the changes that they've made have been successful. And third thing, I don't have a third thing right off the top of my head. I'd be willing to listen to other players and see what they had. One thing is, if this is common knowledge, it'd be going to the players, the high-sec players, and saying, look, hit me up on Twitter, hit me up in other places and tell me what you'd like. And if I agree with you, that might be one of my 3 things.
Part of being a CSM member is being able to explain gameplay patterns or uses of mechanics that feel broken to CCP in order to show why there's something that you feel isn't healthy for the game. Can you describe something you have experience with that you perceive to be broken, or at least overpowered, and explain why you feel it is as such in your...
Okay, this will probably piss some people off. I don't like when there is a single ship that is an answer to a problem. So abyssal sites, way too many. There are some other ships, but most people seem to be running them in the Gila. And yes, I say Gila, not Gila. Live with it. But I would like either some more balanced passes so other ships can come up and compete, or it brought down so other ships are equally viable. That when there is a single answer to a broad problem or to a part of gameplay, it starts making the gameplay feel mechanical.
The CSM has to give an input on many things, even things that aren't normally thought of as coming under the CSM purview, like UI design. In fact, a meeting with the UI team, Psycho Sisters, is a part of most summits. As such, can you describe a part of the UI that you interact with heavily and identify a problem with it when used in the way that you operate it?
I think over the years I've probably learned to adapt around most of the stuff to the point where I don't have major problems with the UI. The complaints we used to have, CCP Karker has done a fantastic job of fixing a lot of pain points, such as ghost fitting and multi-buy. Those type of things made the game a world easier for the type of play that I do. So there is not, I do some PI, and that still feels like a lot of work and a lot of outside research for it. And I think it would be interesting if they added an in-game version of the universal market, rather than having to go to third-party sites like Fuzzy Steve's or Eve Marketeer, that sort of thing. Seeing as we can all access it anyway, why not make something that's common knowledge within the game rather than force people to tap in and out?
Do you have any specific suggestions on how you would address those problems?
So how would I approach CCP about the UI stuff?
Yeah.
Probably talk to some of the artistic people. If it's a proposal I'm bringing, I would talk to people, the market folks, both high sec and null sec and low sec even, who work with a lot. And a lot of these guys have already storyboarded various proposed UI changes. But talking to it, it'd be nice to talk to, like you said, Psycho Sisters. This is not in the category of little things, so it's not like I would take it to Karker and ask her if she can do it on a Friday afternoon. But it would be to show usage the fact that leaving it out of the game doesn't change the gameplay, and bringing it in doesn't give anyone a huge advantage. It is just a convenience to keep people in the game as opposed to on third-party sites. So it's more saying this is a functionality we can use. The argument I would listen to is if they say that would be a huge strain on the servers to have Galaxy, all of New Eden in the market, and it might be too much that it would just lag out everything, and it's not worth doing. Long time ago, we asked for something as simple as being able to switch characters without having to actually log all the way out and log all the way back in again. And Carker said, for 5 seconds of inconvenience, you're talking about 6 months of programming.
Is often a dirty word within the player base. However, as you're running for the CSM, you hopefully understand that it's a necessary part of CCP continuing to exist, while still something to be safeguarded against becoming too rampant. What is a new area of monetization that you would argue against, and what would your argument be to convince CCP on why it shouldn't be done?
I would argue against any version of golden ammo or something that can be done with cash that can't be done with effort. That's all, specialty ships or specialty things that can't be found any other way than getting out your credit card and entering in the numbers. Down that road, unfortunately, lies a lot of where Pearl Abyss and those types have gone. And lots of games do have this monetization. I just think it will kick a lot of EVE players and piss the EVE players off if we go down that road. On the other hand, I think it would be interesting if they want ideas for monetization if you went with a week-long Plex as opposed to month. So a little more incremental, but charge a surcharge for it. So it's not 4 weeks equals a month in cost. It'd be like 3 would equal a full month. So it'd be more economical for somebody to Plex for a month than a week. But if they just want to get in for, say, a war broke out and goons went north, then some of the old classic players could get back in, realize they want back in, but they could come in for a week to see if that's what they wanted.
This next question is very simple. What do you plan to do on the CSM to differentiate yourself from the other members?
I have a mustache. Why should I? There are times where we all will agree this is a good idea, this is a bad idea, and there are times where I'll be the high-sec person saying, no, that's going to ruin all of high-sec or all of incursion play or all of abyssal play. I don't feel that I have to differentiate myself just for the sake of being different. We're all individuals. Not me. Shut up. So you have to just, I'm not doing it to be special. I'm doing it to help the game get better. And if I'm just come across as a voice in the chorus, but the game does get better, then operation success.
Brilliant. Well, for my final directed question, what other non-incumbent candidate would you most like to see elected, either instead of yourself or alongside yourself, depending on how the things go?
That's a tough one because we haven't seen the official candidates list yet. That comes out in about 5 days' time from when we're recording this. So I don't know who officially is in. The one person I probably knee-jerk support who's not an incumbent would be Matterall. And second choice, and it's a close tie, maybe Manic Velocity. I love people who get involved in the community, and having community players in there really give a different aspect to how the CSM runs. We've had good community people in there, and we've had some not so good community people in there. But I always like to see them in the mix. So it'd be a toss-up between those two. I'd love to see both get elected.
Okay, well, with all that said, I'd like to give you a few moments to make any final remarks you want to make and to put a full stop on why you think the listeners should vote for you.
Okay, I noticed you said should vote, not should vote for me, which is a different thing.
No, I said vote for you.
Okay, I missed that. You got clipped. Personally, I think I'll start with what I thought I heard. There's a great comedian called Jonathan Pye who does British politics. And he just released a clip, and I've actually made the clip for part of the advertising once we get full into the election. But it basically says, if you can't be asked to vote, then fuck off. You can't complain afterwards. And so the people who want to be able to complain with any legitimacy over the next year should make the effort. It's not that huge an effort to go and click the boxes and do a quick vote. It takes less time than logging in all your alts and bloody collecting all the prizes from the past 16 days took. So get out, vote. Even if you only are listening to this or one or two other podcasts and you decide those guys are all garbage, vote for somebody. Vote for an alliance. Vote for somebody from the space that you fly in. Vote for somebody who sounds like they could do a good job. Now, me, I don't claim to be God's gift to Eve. There's tons of Eve that I don't know. I've done lots of it, and I've probably forgotten more than I've learned. But in the end, what I want is the game to go on. I'm fully aware that CCP is a large company, has a lot of employees. They have to make money. One of the stupid questions I get is somebody saying, tell CCPs that they should just go totally free to play. And I tell them, no, I won't tell them that because I don't believe that. I'll represent you if your ideas resonate with me, and you should vote for me if what I've said so far resonates with you, the listeners. If it doesn't, find somebody else to vote for, but for God's sake, get out and vote.